Good evening and welcome back to the Behind the Leasers podcast. Unfortunately, no Liam tonight, so it's just the four of us. Transfer window slammed shut last night. Newcastle brought in 5 new faces. Lads, how are we?
Happy. Happy we've actually signed some players in the January transfer window, and it looks like the new era is actually getting underway, so not too bad, Andy.
Good. Adam, mate, how are you?
I'm good. I have to agree with Ethan there. I'm very happy with the signs in. I'm looking forward to seeing them play. No game for another week or so, so I'm going to be quite depressed this weekend. But listen, Everton on a Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that whenever it comes around.
Are you confident for the game?
Yes.
I'd agree. Rob, how about you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, I think if someone had offered me on the 1st of January 5 new transfers worth £90 million, I would have ripped both arms and your legs off. So yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with what we were able to get through the door. Obviously, we'll no doubt discuss it in more detail today, and there's always things you can do a little bit better. But overall, I think we had a great window, and I feel a little bit relieved actually that it's February and I can just take a deep breath because there's been so much going on over the last few weeks.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Twitter feed looks now for the next few months without the in the know accounts linking us to just about every player going. Look, we'll start from the start. It's always a good place to start. Ethan, come to you. Trippier was the first face through the door. Just how good of a signing was that?
Yeah, that was quite monumental getting Trippier in. I thought it was important to get a big name through the door early on to let everyone know in the league and that potential players who were interested in that we mean business and we want to stay in the Premier League. And by getting someone like Kieran Trippier in, who just won the Liga, is vastly experienced at the Premier League and obviously the Spanish First Division, I thought it was huge because a team who's 19th in the Premier League, or we were at that moment, shouldn't be getting players like Trippier in. So that made me trust that from that moment on, we were going to be getting more players in the window who were of Trippier's calibre. So it was a really good start.
Yeah, plus an England international as well. When was the last time we had one of them? That is a genuine question because I can't actually remember. The last time I remember a Newcastle player being anywhere near the setup was, I think, Colback was, but the only one other I can remember was Stephen Taylor.
I was going to say, I think Stephen Taylor
got
a cap.
We discussed it a few weeks ago, and I can't remember now.
It's Townsend 2006.
Townsend. There you go.
Well done.
At the Stadium of Light as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, bells are ringing at him. We'll move on. Chris Wood, he hasn't really made the impact we would have thought or would have liked him to make so far, but do you think that can change going into the Everton game?
I think obviously you have to give these players a chance, Andy. You'll remember after the Cambridge game, I was probably one of the only few Newcastle fans who was going, Trippier wasn't very good, and I was didn't really give him much of a chance, which is harsh. But no, you have to give these players a few games. I think it was it's been difficult for Chris Woods. He's a player who relies on service, and we haven't given him that kind of service just yet. But once we improve that and we build our play forward, he's not a player who makes stuff himself. We need to give him the ball in dangerous positions, and then Chris Wood will score goals, as he's proven for Burnley in the past. So I'm not too nervous about that one. Adam,
do you agree with Ethan? Do you think Chris Wood can start making an impact sometime soon?
Yeah, well, again, he has to settle in first. The Watford game, I mean, he's had one training session for that match. I don't think he was 100% match fit, really. The Leeds match, he never really looked like scoring, but I thought his hold-up play, especially with the wingers, is quite good. And again, we got a result from the game. We got a 1-0 win. So even if we didn't have an awful impact in the game, then again, we still got a win. So that's the most important part from that game. Now, though, with obviously Everton, Aston Villa coming up home, West Ham away as well. They're the tougher games, and they're the ones that are going to test the new signings coming in for Chris Wood. It'll be a huge opportunity for him. Again, Callum Wilson stuff for about a month or so they're going to have to rely on him for quite a while. I know fans are a little disappointed we didn't say a striker, but still, I'm happy the deals are brought in, and know at some point Chris Wood will surely get his first goal.
Rob, do you think the transfers that we've got, do you think it guarantees survival now? or are you still worried?
I don't think anything's guaranteed in football. I think that we lost against Cambridge, not too long ago. I mean, people would have bet their houses on probably winning that game, but Newcastle always like to define the odds and do the opposite. I think it was a good window. Again, talking about Chris Wood, I think that if I had to give it a rating, I'll come in early. If I had to give a rating on the window, I think I would give it like a solid 8. I think to jump into that 9.5 would have been that more attacking flair player. And we'll come on to all of the signings in a moment, but again, just mention like Trippier and obviously the defensive signings. That will shore us up at the back, which is great. But again, we've just mentioned Chris Wood struggles for service as it is. So it depends on how we start to play our football, maybe with the wing backs slightly trying to cross the ball in a little bit more. Who knows? I think the players we've brought in will definitely help us stop conceding, and it's just how we'll get going forward. It'll probably define our season in the end. If I had to put my neck on the line, I think I'd say what we've done this window will keep us safe, but nothing's guaranteed.
Would have Lingard pushed you up to maybe that 9.5?
It would have, yeah, to be honest. As I say, and I know we're kind of running through the transfers one by one, but I think, primarily what we've concentrated on this window, aside from Chris Wood, because, even Gomes himself is really a defensive midfielder. He will create, he can keep the ball well, he's got some skill, he can find a pass, but he doesn't really score goals. Maybe he can still pick out a pass that can lead to an assist for Chris Wood. He can play the ball to Trippier running up the wing to cross the ball in, but still in that area of attack and flair, we'll be relying on St. Max once again. And I think if we could have helped him out with a Lingard or an Akite or whoever else we were linked with, that would have been the perfect window for me.
Yeah, I certainly think it's time for Joe Willock to step up going forward again.
Yeah.
I mean, he played well against Leeds, linked up well with Maxi, so hopefully he can replicate that against Everton next time we play at home. Ethan, Bruno, do you think he can finally fill that hole Newcastle's had, the massive gaping hole, really, since Kabai's left, in someone that you can rely on week in, week out in the centre of the park? Do you think Bruno can be that for the club?
Absolutely, Andy. First of all, if you don't mind, if I just comment on what Rob was saying about possibly bringing Lingard, but definitely going to get on Bruno because I think he's the standout signing that we've made. But just going on about Lingard, I really agree. Maybe my rating for this window so far would probably be like a 7, I would say. So slightly below Rob. But if we got Lingard in, that would really push it up to a 9 for me. And the reason is, like Rob said, St. Maximin is the guy making all the chances at the minute, and if we did bring in Lingard, I'd assume he'd be on the other flank. So I've done a little bit of a comparison here, Andy. Sadly, I can't put it up on the screen, but I've made a graph comparing Jesse Lingard's West Ham season and Ryan Fraser's season so far. So both have played. So Lingard in that season played 16 matches. Fraser's made 16 appearances as well this season so far. Lingard's got 9 goals and 5 assists in that season. So far, Fraser's got none this year. Chances created in that year, Lingard was at West Ham. He created 18 chances. So far, Fraser's only created 8. These are astonishing stats, Andy. And it just makes me think, if we did have Lingard in on that side, and then obviously St. Maximin's probably Newcastle's most creative midfielder at the minute on the other, the goals would just be coming so much more often. So yeah, I think it's a big shame that we've missed out on him, but that's going to not knock my happiness for getting Bruno Gomes in, if that's how you pronounce it. And yes, I do think he is maybe the answer to Johan Cabaye that we've not answered for so many years now. Cabaye is my favourite Newcastle player in the last decade. I'm so glad that we've managed to get a player like Gomes in to replace him. Obviously, not like other podcasts out there, I can't say. I'm not going to put myself in a hole by saying that I've seen a lot of him because I haven't. But I can go off what other people have said. And apparently this is a top-class midfielder who is brilliant at defending. And at the moment, Andy, and how the season's gone so far, Longstaff and Shelvey and whoever else you'll have in there, maybe a Hayden, that midfield's been ran ragged. And if you can have a player who can cover the miles and the distance in there. Like Rob said, create a bit as well. It's going to be so important. So yes, sorry that was a very long answer because I had to get my say about Lingard in there. But yeah, I'm happy about Guimaraes as well.
Adam, what did it mean to you as a Newcastle fan, seeing that Bruno had knocked back Juventus and Arsenal to join us?
Well, it's huge intent again. It was quite similar to Trippier. I know it wasn't any clubs going in for him, but it's just the fact of getting these sort of players and just gave me the confidence. Bruno was a huge one, though. Again, there was so many different clubs. You see him mocking Arsenal in his announcement video when it came out, so they were definitely one that was trying to get him. It's just huge to get him in. I remember a few years ago, I think it was like 2018, it was Shelby and Hayden, those two in the middle, which just played really well together. I feel like now Bruno's that sort of defensive midfield and Shelby alongside, as well as Jordan now. I just feel like those three in the midfield, oh my word, it could be, I think it'll be seriously exciting to watch and definitely compare to the likes of Longstaff, Hendrick and all those players. I think Bruno's a slight upgrade, you could say. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him play. Again, obviously, I went and got his shirt 3 days before he signed, so I'm definitely very happy he signed in the end. It was a huge one to get done. I'm looking forward to watching him play, and yes, I also do think he is the answer to Kabay.
What would you give the window if you were going to give it a rating?
Well, I did a video on it actually, and I said 9 out of 10 in the video, so I'm going to stick by it now. Obviously, a lot higher than what people have said here. The reason why I give it such a high rating is because the likes of Lingard, for example, that's out of Newcastle's control. The club is outright refusing to let him go. I mean, we can't really do anything about that. Yes, I do think we need more signs. I said at the start we needed a minimum of 6, but only got 5 in the end. But I'm still really happy with the signs we got done. I feel like the owners have done what they could. At this moment in time, Newcastle are still a team in the bottom 3. We've got 14 years of stagnation we've got to try and rebuild from. So I feel like we've done what we can. I think some people's expectations at the minute are probably a little too high. But I feel like in the summer, the likes of Botman and Lingard, definitely high possibility of getting those in.
Rob, we missed out on a couple of Botman, Carlos, Etiquette. Out of those 3, who would you most like to see potentially come in this summer?
I think of the 3, I would still probably run with Botman. I think I just think the age is on his side slightly more than Carlos, and I think Akite is a very exciting young talent. And I know I've literally just said 2 seconds ago that we need a young and exciting talent going forward on the pitch, but I just think that maybe he's slightly more untested. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, the thing is, in the summer we will have time to basically figure out what we want to do. And touching on what Adam said a moment ago there, I definitely do agree with the rating situation, because it depends how you want to rate it. Because if you want to compare it to every other January window we've ever had, then you would probably give it 11 out of 10 because we've never spent and brought as many players in. But just trying to kind of cover all bases, I think the only reason the rating drops slightly is just because of that forward position. But again, once we move into the summer, and again, really what we've done in this window, hopefully, is keep us in the Premier League. We've not really bought, or at least I don't feel like we've bought, to go and try and finish top 10 or win the league or whatever anyone wants to say. Really, we've bought to finish 17th. Guimaraes is a little bit of exciting, exotic player. But otherwise, Dan Burn, Targett, Trippier's a little bit more exciting. But really, we've just brought in players who know the Premier League and will hopefully just instantly improve us. And I think in the summer, then you can start being a little bit more out there with your signings. I think we've been quite clever in that we've really bought, players who know the Premier League, except for Guimaraes. I think once you hit the summer, you can be a little bit more out there with who you're willing to bring in and take slightly more risk with it. Whereas right now, I feel like we were very risk averse on the players that were brought in.
Ethan, Rob mentioned Etiquette.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that we went back in for him on deadline day? I was quite surprised that at first we were even linked with him, because I thought he wasn't the kind of player we would be looking at this window. I thought he'd be more of a player to, right, let's get Premier League status secured and then we can start looking at these foreign young talents. Would you agree? Were you surprised?
I think I was surprised, Andy. You were surprised, and the player was surprised. That's why the player decided not to join the club on deadline day. I think for him personally, He's a 19-year-old lad. He expected this deal to probably be dead last week when Newcastle seemingly stopped trying to pursue him. And then we basically said, right, you've got a few hours to decide. Are you going to move over to a different country, not your first language, and you want to dive into it all? And he went, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe not. Maybe I need a little bit more time to think about this, which I completely understand for him. But from like a Newcastle transfer perspective, in terms of was he a player we needed, I really felt like having a quick, agile striker who can get in behind would have offered us something different, and I think it would have been a good move. I've seen the odd YouTube clip. I can't say I've seen much more of Bruno Guimaraes, and he seems to be very good at slipping the ball in behind and having that runner, that forward man, go in behind and catch that ball and try and score after that. I don't think Chris Wood is that kind of forward. So it would have been nice to have something a little bit different. But again, yes, young forwards, could have he hit it straight away? Like Rob said, we've signed these Premier League players like Burn, Targett, Chris Wood, because they're going to hit the ground running. Would have he hit the ground running? He's less likely to than all the other guys. So it was an interesting one, but I really would have liked to have had that other forward option over the line.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how we line up against Everton. I think we might move into sort of like a three-step midfield, have Guimaraes, Shelby, and then Joe Linton. I think we might see Maxi start playing more as an inverted winger rather than keeping outside and then cutting in. I think he'll be very much on the inside quite a lot because, as you said, Guimaraes likes to slip these balls over the top. Who better to bring them down and knock them on than Chris Wood, which he was showing he could do against Leeds. Adam, for you in that game against Everton, do you think the new signings, do you think they all come straight into the picture straight away?
Yes. Bruno's a bit of a tricky one though, because obviously he's in an international break now. He's not going to turn up in Newcastle till about Friday, so I'll be quite intrigued to see what happens to him if he gets the full 90 or not. In terms of the rest of them, I think all of them will start. I think full-back-wise, they've got no options, really. Centre-halves, you imagine Dan Burn probably going because, again, the South is injured, so there's no one else there, really. Chris Wood is obviously the only striker, so Bruno's the only one I probably got question marks around, but again, with his ability and his talent, you probably expect him to start. We'll just see how things get on, though. Again, he's got another game this week, so obviously, fingers crossed to get injured or anything, because that'd just be Newcastle's luck, wouldn't it? So, I'll keep an eye on it, but yes, I expect them all to start, but again, with Bruno, just got to double check him first.
Sorry, mate, I was just touching every bit of wood I could possibly get my hands on. We do not want Bruno getting injured, and hopefully the Brazil coach will play fair with us and not give him too many minutes. We'll talk about the outgoings we had last night. Jeff Hendrick to QPR. Kieran Clark was a maybe to Middlesbrough, but it seems he knocked that move back himself. Elliot Anderson's went to Bristol Rovers. And Rob, were you surprised to see Matty Longstaff go out on loan again and to Mansfield as well?
Yeah, I actually was quite surprised, to be honest. I mean, I know we'll talk more about the outgoings and stuff, but one thing with bringing players in, obviously, and as many as 5 as you need to suddenly find the space for them. I think one easy one was the fact that we had 4 goalkeepers, so Freddie Woodman get out there and get some game time. I think that's probably a pretty good one, to be honest. I mean, I would love it for Freddie Woodman to one day take that number 1 spot in Newcastle, but I do feel like as the years go on, it's looking further and further away. I think the Matty Longstaff one did surprise me as well, because I actually half thought that when Eddie Howe brought him back from his failed Aberdeen loan was that we were literally that desperate for midfield options that Eddie Howe was genuinely considering. I mean, it's only a couple of years ago he was scoring the winner against Manchester United. He had a real engine on him. He could run for days, and in a team that really, I mean, the Leeds game proved me wrong, to be fair, but generally haven't had the most of an engine around. I thought Matty Longstaff might have been Eddie Howe's answer. But as I say, he's come back. He's only been back 5 minutes. We've now got 5 new faces in the door. And Eddie Howe's gone, look, I need to make some room somewhere. Where the hell can I send Matty Longstaff? And he's just chucked him to where he went. But I wish Matty Longstaff the absolute best. I mean, I would again, with any local lad, it's the same with both the Longstaff. I wish Sean could find the form he was on as well a couple of seasons ago. With any luck, maybe this loan will do Matty some good. But I do agree, though. I thought he would have been Championship quality, to be honest. Not is it League Two? League Two, yeah. So I thought he thought he could have found a slightly higher ranked club or in more local as well. He could have gone to maybe Middlesbrough or something. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him.
I'd agree. Ethan, would you say you were surprised as well to see him drop down at that level? Because I was surprised to see Elliot Anderson go to that level as well. My worry with Elliot Anderson is that he's going to come back quite an overly aggressive player with who he's been coached under at Bristol Rovers.
Oh, Joey Barton, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose a little bit of aggression isn't bad, Andy. But with the Matty Longstaff scenario, it's a bit like Newcastle's version of Donny van der Beek and Manchester United, I guess. How Matty Longstaff's not getting in there, obviously on a smaller scale because we are Newcastle in this situation. But I don't know what's been going on behind the scenes. It's a bizarre one because when Longstaff first came on the scene and scored against Man United, and we were all so excited, and then he did it again at Old Trafford. I would never have imagined that in early 2022 he'd be going on loan to Mansfield. It's baffling. But like I said with the Van der Beek situation, it's so similar because the coaches behind the scenes will know what's going on. Maybe he's not performing. He's definitely not performing to the standard they know that he can do. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing. And like we said about Freddie Woodman before, and Matty Longstaff, and maybe Sean Longstaff, I like Rob. I really want the local lads to do well, but as the years go on and the more money we have to spend to improve the squad, I just can't really see that happening, to be honest, of them getting much of a run in the team.
Yeah, Freddie Woodman, I'm just worried he's going to be Fraser Foster version 2. It seems the way he's heading at the minute. I mean, Bournemouth with the signings they brought in yesterday, they're looking good stead and have probably secured I know they're in the playoff spots at the minute, but I think with their signings have brought in the likes of Todd Cantwell yesterday, I think they've more or less secured an automatic spot with them.
What did you think about, because obviously Newcastle were linked to Todd Cantwell. Do you think that would have been maybe the plan B or plan C to Jesse Lingard? Would have that been a good transfer in your eyes?
I don't think so. There's a reason he hasn't really been playing for Norwich this season. I don't think he's that reliable at this level just yet. He did have spells in the Premiership last time where he looked good and maybe looked like a Jack Grealish kind of player, but I don't think he'd have been a great addition to the team. And I mean, look, I think the performance against Leeds, if that's how we're going to go forward, and that was without the three other lads we've brought in, I think we're going to be looking good. Adam, would you agree that if with the additions in Everton, I'm honestly, even with Lampard, with Van de Beek, Dele Alli, I'm still seeing Everton as a walk in a park, and I can't help but get confident about it. Look, Everton notoriously struggle coming and playing at St James's. They've got a keeper that I wouldn't pick Pickford to play against us because he cannot. He's got a simple as, and especially how the atmosphere is now. Jordan Pickford will lose his head 10 minutes into that game. I bet he makes a mistake, and that's how we'll score our first goal. Chris Wood poach. That's how confident I am. Adam, you're usually my confidant in confidence.
Yeah.
How are you feeling for the game?
I'm confident with the game. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park, as you said. Again, well, I was at Leeds away last week. Obviously, I was in the hospitality for, and all the legends are coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to beat Newcastle 4-0." They're all coming out and bigging themselves up, going, "Newcastle's going to be a walk in the park." And look how that one turned out. So I'm going to be a little bit hesitant in this one. I think we will beat Everton. I think it'll be a good game of football. Again, with the manager bounce, I don't know what way it's going to go. It's either going to go for Everton or against Everton. So we'll see how it goes. I think Newcastle will be the favourites in this game. Everton will just look terrible all season long. Again, it's St James Park. Even when they were like a decent top 10 side, like you said, they did struggle there. So we'll keep an eye on how that one goes. It just depends how the game starts, really. First 15 minutes, if Newcastle struggled, then it'd be like our full 90. So we've got to start well in that game. But overall, the team's pretty good. I think the signs of made will help us out massively in that game. We just got to hope Everton don't start creeping back up the table at this point. After the Newcastle game, maybe, but not for that one. Because again, Villa afterwards, I think it'll be a much harder game.
Yeah, Rob, Everton, if we beat them, we go a point behind them with them to play again. Do you think if we beat them, do you think that's Everton right into the trouble, or do you think Lampard can help them pull them away? I'm not sold on Lampard. I know he did the all right job with Derby, sacked at Chelsea, and Everton, they just look a mess at the minute.
Yeah, I definitely think for us it's all coming at a bad time. And to be honest, I would have much preferred it if Rafa could have just stuck around for one extra week and let us play him as well, because they had been on some terrible form. And I do think, regardless of who the new manager is, I know it's just been mentioned there, but I think regardless of the manager, the new manager bounce is a thing. And I just think that regardless of whether Frank Lampard is actually a good manager or not, I think he's still highly regarded by a lot of the players. He is a legend of his craft. And I think the fact that he was able to bring in Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli with what seemed to be a click of a fingers just because of who he was, I think he's done Everton a big favour in that alone. So I do think it'll be a tough game in terms of where they'll be in the league come the end of the season. I think that is a different question, because again, that a few games time is when we'll really find out what Frank Lampard's about, because I think at first he'll probably do okay because of the fact that it's the bounce and everyone's buzzing. It'll be end of the season. If we win a couple, Norwich win a couple, and then suddenly Everton are in and around it, that'll be where we'll find out what Frank's all about in the manager's chair. They're definitely not out of it. I think, they do have 2 games in hand over Norwich. So again, if Frank gets a couple of wins under his belt, then maybe they can step away. But yeah, it's still close for now. I like to know that they're not too far from us, so that we can maybe try and pull them back in it with us if we win. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough game. But yeah, I've got some confidence going into Tuesday as well.
Whoa! What's going on here? Ethan, go on, say you're confident. Go on.
I am confident, Andy. I am confident, which is obviously probably most unusual for me on here. But yeah, like Rob said, I think we have to be wary, Andy. It's not going to be a walk in the park, I don't think, son. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult than that. But the new manager bounce is a thing. We have to accept that. We have to be ready for it. I think
Eddie Howe would beg to differ.
Well, Eddie, that's a good point. I mean, it depends how rubbish you are, whether you can just turn it around with. Well, listen, Newcastle's squad was terrible when Eddie Howe took over, so it would be difficult for anyone to get any sort of bounce going with them lot, who hadn't won at all when he came in. But with Lampard, he's got a better squad than what Eddie Howe started with. I think also when you have a manager, like if we look at United when Mourinho left and they brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think it's quite similar to Everton in the sense of when you have a manager like Benitez, who is so wants everything his way, he's very intense, and then you get someone like Lampard who's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more go express yourself kind of thing. The players love that, and you're more likely to be the catalyst for instant change, I feel, because the players are relieved and they're ready to impress, and it's a new era kind of thing. So that does worry me. But on the other side, Andy, we've had a very good transfer window. We've had a couple of weeks off. There will be time for these new players to settle in. Obviously, Adam said about Gamera, she might take a little bit more time, but we can prepare for this one. We've just had a win against Leeds. Let's make our own momentum and try and cancel out Everton's new manager bounce. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. And like Adam said, the first 15 minutes will tell you everything of how it's going to go, I think.
With Everton obviously playing in the FA Cup this weekend, do you think we should maybe play a behind closed doors friendly?
Are the lads back from Saudi Arabia yet? Because they could
yeah.
All right, I was going to say they could ask that team for another match.
I think they would, as long as Kieran Clark was absolutely nowhere near the pitch, and that's Newcastle, not the Saudi team.
Yeah, I think so, Andy. But yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fine with me. Of course, if they want to use this time to get the players just to know each other and work on tactical things on the training ground and form new relationships, etc. Whatever they do, I'm no coach. I don't know what goes on there. But whatever it takes, Eddie Howe, you just make sure they're ready for that Everton game, and I'll back you.
Adam, with the new signings coming in, obviously you've got to make way in the current squad, and I think obviously Jeff Hendrick's gone, but I still think we're going to have to squeeze a couple of players out of our registered Premier League squad. Who would you expect to get dropped out of it?
Well, I saw something earlier on that said we need to get rid of 3 players up to the 25-man squad, so 3 senior players. But the fact we tried to loan Clark and Lewis out, I think they automatically will drop those 2, even though a lot of people disagree with Jamal Lewis. Again, I would do as well. But I think as a result, those 2 will be dropping the 25-man squad. As for the 3rd player, I'm not too sure. Maybe Isaac Kane, due to the fact that he has a long-term injury. But again, it could be anyone, to be honest. I think it will be someone that's probably injured.
Is Gillespie not in there?
Well,
we went into the season with 4 registered goalkeepers, didn't we?
Yeah, but Woodman's gone on loan, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
we've only got 3 now.
To be honest, I would probably put any outfield player in other than Dubravka.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the last time we were in this situation was like the likes of Henri Saivet, who he comes on, scores a free kick at West Ham, never plays again. It'll be interesting. I have to agree with Clark. I said yesterday on Twitter that I disagreed with loaning out Jamal Lewis. I don't think that would be the best thing to do. We've obviously brought Matt Targett to play in that left back position. Dummett can sway between left back and centre back, but if you're getting rid of Clark, then you do need someone that can play centre half just in case in the squad. Maybe it's an outside shout, and you can shoot us down here. But Richie, do you think he really needs to be in there, Rob?
I think Eddie Howe probably likes Matt Ritchie. I think he already knows him from his previous days, and in him trying to instill his ethos into the team. I think Ritchie's probably an ally in there, which is probably helping him out. I also think, again, we're discussing players going forward. Ritchie can't defend. I mean, we can't have him as a sub left back, but what we can do is hoy him out on the left wing and just tell him to cross the ball into Chris Wood. I mean, it's not glamorous, and he probably could. He doesn't do much else these days, but it's one of the few assets we've got going forward. So I think that also plays into his hands. But I will agree, I was quite surprised to see that Jamal Lewis was one of the people to be linked with being left out of the squad. But again, I just think, as you've said there, I mean, Dummett. The thing is, Dummett's injury prone, but you are right. You can play centre back, and then, we can play Mankey over there technically. I think I would, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But if Matt Targett went down, I had to go off. Lewis would be the straight replacement for me. So I do find it odd to think that he isn't the second choice behind some other players. But as I say, maybe it's because Mankio can play right or left. Dummett can play left or centre. Lewis can't really do an additional position. Maybe that's why. But I think it seems harsh on the lad because the time he has had since injury, again, he's injury prone as well. Yeah. So maybe that's factoring it in. But the time we have seen him play, I think he's always done okay.
Yeah, one guy we haven't mentioned, Ethan. One guy who I think everyone was still surprised he's still hanging around, still hasn't gone to a championship club. How surprised are you to still see Dwight Gayle still at the club?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Andy, I didn't even think about Dwight Gayle there, so yeah, I am a bit surprised. Again, he falls into that list of an injury-prone striker, or injury-prone players that we've got at the club. I am quite surprised. I do like Dwight Gayle, though. I've always seen him as an okay option to have, but I mean, there's not much more to say, Andy. He's one of those injury-prone players, and I think he's a decent footballer, and he can get some goals in the Premier League. He's not your answer, Dwight Gayle. He's not going to keep you up, but maybe he's a plan B. I think I remember, was it last season or the year before, like a header against West Brom or whatever, that was a vital 3 points. He can come up with the goods on occasion. But yeah, I think Dwight Gayle's level is probably the Championship. And I think the only answer the only reason is because he hasn't moved is because he gets injured a lot. And that's it, really.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll move on to deadline day yesterday. We were all excited getting on the tellies. Sky Sports was on. Keith Downey getting absolutely slated for not reporting on Sunderland let us remind them, in League One, out of the playoff zones, while Newcastle have been taken over in the Premier League by, the richest owners in world football, and have spent £90 million this month. So I think it can pretty much excuse Keith Downey for being more focused on one club. Adam, deadline day, how excited were you going into yesterday?
Well, I was very excited to see when I woke up in the morning about 9 o'clock. The first thing I saw was Matt Targett. I think it was Dan Burn actually came out first and he's agreed to come up to Newcastle. So I was excited about that one. I had my bed here. I was getting the video up straight away. Then I saw more news that it was Matt Targett. And then in Ketia, I was just thinking, what's Ketia? So yeah, I was just thinking, what's going on? There's 3 signs coming in already. And as they progressed, I was just getting more and more greedy. I guess I was just thinking, Lingard next. I want this guy next. I want all these players coming in. So I guess just like everyone Newcastle fan got carried away in the end. It was just the 2 signings. Of course, the league on strike. I didn't want to come, and it was just kind of a deflation. Really realising that Lingard isn't going to be moved for Manchester United, and I think overall the window I was happy about the fact that deadline day you seen all these big names pop up. I think fans were disappointed how things ended, but again, I'm sure when we reflect about it now, within like a week's time or something, I'm sure I will be quite happy with that window. But I woke up happy and went to bed slightly less happy, I suppose. So I was a little bit disappointed, but it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
It's amazing as well how the domino effect works within this January transfer window, because it seems the moves will only happen sometimes when a certain player's gone, but then another player gets moved on, and it just seems to be an endless chain of transfers. Obviously, Digne went to Villa, which meant Targett came up and available. Rob, were you happy with Matt Targett? I think it's a bit of a we'll see how he gets on kind of signing.
Yeah, I'm happy with Matt Targett. I know we've just kind of listed off through the left backs a moment ago on the fact that we do have options there. I think the options felt less. I think Dummett coming back in has looked solid. I know. I think Dummett splits the population of Newcastle fans, to be fair, because I think he's had a lot of grief, but I think he's had a lot of praise as well. I think he's not going to do anything special, but he will kick the ball out when he needs to. And he knows, again, we've been trying to play Matt Ritchie there. The bloke can't defend, so to have someone who can defend just shows. I think again, going back to how are we creating these chances for Chris Wood when we don't, other than St. Max hopefully having a good game because he can blow a bit of hot and cold. I'm thinking, we're going to be a little bit more out there with our fullbacks, Trippier, and then Paul Dummett's not going to do it. Let's bring in Targett and let's see him run up that wing, naturally left-footed, start crossing these balls over. So I like the Targett one. I think the fact that he's alone as well, and we've not actually spent any money on it. So if he isn't any good, then we can send him back in a month's time, So we've really, I think it's a smart move. I think a lot of what we've done this window has just been clever signings.
I think the thing that surprised me most with the Targett signing is it's just a straight loan deal. There's no obligation or option to buy in there. Ethan, we had a bit of a back and forth about a certain Dan Burns announcement video yesterday. How happy are you to see Dan Burn finally come home to Newcastle?
Yeah, well, obviously, correct announcement video music with "Burn, Baby, Burn." I mean, it couldn't have been anything else. But yeah, I've always liked Dan Burn, bizarrely. I've always enjoyed watching Dan Burn. I've always thought I'd like a bit of him for Newcastle. I didn't know he was a Geordie, but I just think a big old fashioned centre half who can get in there and clobber it. And he's quite good with his feet as well, and he can bring the ball forward. He's played left back quite a lot, and he can definitely carry the ball. I think it's a decent signing. Obviously, I would have been delighted if we got a Sven Botman in or a Carlos. These were obviously the first two choices and big money options for reasons. But Dan Burn isn't a bad choice, and I'm glad we've managed to get a centre-half in. If we didn't, my rating of this transfer window would have plummeted from my 7 before to like maybe a 4 perhaps. So yes, it's a decent signing, and I don't think he's an unbelievable centre-half. I think he's perhaps Brighton's second or third choice. He tends to rotate, but he's definitely an upgrade and a good option to what we've got at the minute.
Yeah, he's been what we've been crying out for, really, isn't he? I mean, you started the days that Newcastle now own both the tallest and smallest player in the Premier League. So there you go. Yeah, well, before we sign off for the night, we'll go around. The January window has just finished, but Adam, who's your number one target for the summer?
I would have to say Botman. I think we need that top level half in. I know people probably go for a striker as well due to or lack of positioner up there, but for me it has to be one of them top level centre halves. You see the likes of Manchester City get Company when they first had their rise. Liverpool get Van Dijk for their rise. I mean, the centre half seems to be a key aspect to it, so I think Newcastle need to get a big one in. I prefer Botman out of the two. I think Carlos is a bit error prone at times as well. His age isn't the greatest compared to Botman, so he's the one I prefer out of the two. But again, I'd take either of them, to be honest. I'm not going to be greedy.
Rob, who's your number one target, mate?
It's really tough because again, as I say, I think the one thing we could have maybe done with this window, like again, not to say that it would never a fantastic window, but again, if I was going to ask for even more, which is probably already too much, would have been that more attacking player. But as I say, I think when we get to the window and we've got a little bit more time, I think that defensively it is a big thing. So I will be tempted by the Botman as well. But just to say something slightly different so that we can have a bit of a round robin, I think I know someone like Dembele or something like that. Again, I think the summer will be where they kind of go out and can be more extravagant with what they want to do. As I say, I think although this window we did bring in Gomeres, which was that like European statement, I think come the summer where they can really get the checkbook out and go for whoever they want, I think we could see just a bit more flashy kind of player. So, and I think that's what I think we could do with it as well. As we say, we've got Saint Max on one wing. Let's get someone else on the other as well.
Let's say if it got to before May, Rob, and it looked like we were safe, do you think we could see some pre-contract deals being made, pre-window signings? Do you think that could be a potential thing we could see happen?
Very possibly. I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing with the January as well. You know, we went into the January window and we were already talking. I mean, I feel like from the moment we got taken over, you know, the 2 months before it was even the January window, we're already talking about who can we see come through the door. And I do feel like something quite similar could happen this season. I think as long as we are down in the depths of that bottom three, this conversation will be kind of pushed to the back. But as you say, if we are lucky enough to maybe see us go on a bit of a run and maybe we are clear of the zone before, I know, a month or so to go, then maybe, and then I would fully expect all of this conversation to start heating up. So, yeah, I mean, how good would it be for a change to actually walk into the first day of the summer and see some transfers going through in time for like the training camps and stuff rather than it all just being in the last week to go. So, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, we've got some summer coming if we do stay up. I think it'll be absolutely amazing. Ethan, for you, who's your top target, mate?
Well, again, like you just said, Andy, depends what division we're in and who we can get. I was going to say like Rob and Adam Botman, but then Rob changed his answer not to be boring, so I'm probably going to have to do the same thing. How about? I do quite like Jesse Lingard, Andy. I would like to bring in Lingard. I
think it's gonna take a lot to tempt him. I think he's got his heart set on a London club by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, understood. Maybe we're not his first choice. He's been at West Ham. They loved him at West Ham. He's made relationships with the players there, so they're probably the favourites, and I get that. But we've got the money, so why not just give him a big paycheck and then bring him along, because I really do rate Jesse Lingard, and I think he's the answer for creating the goals that we're not scoring at the minute, and that would make Newcastle a much better team if we brought him in. But I also go back to my true answer, which I think Botman would be good, because building from the back, like Adam said, seems to be the sensible thing to do.
I think everyone's got the same sort of opinion that Botman would be our version of Company. The one thing that terrifies me with Lingard is he would turn us down for West Ham and then Gabby Lahore for the foreseeable, not shutting up. I mean, it's been great seeing all the. I know it was great that Bruno turned down Arsenal, but the whole jokes of, I was amazed that he didn't go to Brentford for 30k a week. Look, we'll leave it there before I go on a rant about
he talks nonsense, Andy. That's all you need to know.
He does. But I think as long as we've got the money and the picture of the bridges, I think we'll be able to sign whoever we want in the summer. So we'll leave it there.
Isn't it?
It is. It's the bridges. We'll leave it there for tonight, lads. Thanks for joining us as always, and we'll be back next weekend to give a bit of a more in-depth preview of the Everton game. So see you then. Bye.
See you then. Bye.